The first explosion lit the sky before Daniel even heard it. A streak of fire tore across the darkness, crashing beyond the rocky hills with a force that shook the ground beneath his boots. For a moment, everything went silent. Then came the sound, a deep, distant rumble that didn't belong to this quiet colony. Daniel Mercer slowly lowered his wrench. "That," he muttered, "is definitely not part of my repair schedule." The night had been normal, boring even. Just him, a malfunctioning cargo drone, and the usual argument over why machines always chose the worst possible time to break. But now, something had fallen from the sky. And it wasn't supposed to. Daniel glanced toward the distant ridge. A faint glow flickered there, unnatural and pulsing. Most people would have walked the other way. Daniel sighed, grabbed his toolkit, and started walking toward it. "Curiosity," he said under his breath, "is how people like me end up dead." The rocky terrain crunched beneath his boots as he climbed. The colony lights faded behind him, swallowed by darkness. The wind whispered through the cliffs, carrying the faint scent of burning metal. As he reached the top of the ridge, he froze. It wasn't debris. It was a body. The figure lay half-buried between shattered stone, armor cracked and glowing faintly with dying energy. Strange symbols pulsed across its surface like fading embers. Alien. Definitely alien. Daniel's brain immediately offered one helpful thought: leave. Instead, he stepped closer. "Great decision-making," he whispered. The figure moved. Daniel jumped back, nearly dropping his tools. A hand, thin, armored, trembling, pressed against the ground. Alive. Very alive. And probably very dangerous. The alien's eyes snapped open. They glowed. Not softly, not gently, but sharp, bright, and focused, locking onto him with instant awareness. She tried to rise. Her body failed her. Daniel raised both hands immediately. "Okay," he said quickly, "before this becomes violent, I'd like to point out, I was having a perfectly peaceful evening before you crashed into it." The alien stared at him. Her features were almost human. Pale skin with a faint silver tint. Long, white hair spread across the rocks like strands of light. But her eyes, those eyes didn't belong to anything human. They belonged to a soldier. Her hand reached for a broken weapon lying beside her. Daniel looked at the blade, then at her, then back at the blade. "You really think that's going to work?" he asked gently. She tried to lift it. Her arms shook violently. The blade barely moved, then dropped. Silence. Daniel carefully stepped forward and picked up the weapon. "Yeah," he said, holding it out of reach. "I'm going to go ahead and confiscate this." Her eyes narrowed. She spoke, sharp, unfamiliar words, filled with anger. Daniel nodded, like he understood. "Right," he said. That definitely sounded like a threat. Her stomach growled. Loudly. The tension shattered instantly. Daniel blinked. The alien closed her eyes for a second, as if she wished the universe would erase that moment. Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a ration bar. He held it up. "It's food," he said. Not impressive, but technically edible. She didn't move. So Daniel took a bite himself. Chewed. Swallowed. "See," he said. Still alive. Mildly disappointed, but alive. The alien watched him carefully. Then, slowly she reached out. Her hand trembled as she took the ration. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she ate. Fast. Too fast. Daniel raised a finger. "Easy. If you choke, I am completely unqualified for alien emergency procedures." She ignored him. Within seconds, the food was gone. She looked at him again. Daniel sighed and pulled out another. "Yeah," he said. "I figured." As she ate, he studied her armor. It was damaged badly. Burn marks, fractures, deep impact scars. Whatever she had gone through, it wasn't small. "You're not from around here," he said. She swallowed, then spoke again. Slower this time. "Kilira." Daniel blinked. "Okay," he said. "I'm going to need at least 5 attempts before I pronounce that correctly." She frowned slightly. Then, surprisingly, a faint sound escaped her. A small laugh. Daniel smiled. "Well, Kilira," he said, offering a hand. "I'm Daniel. I fix broken things. You currently qualify." She stared at his hand, then at his face, then back at his hand. Slowly, she took it. Kilira woke to the sound of metal clattering. Her eyes opened instantly. New environment, unknown structure, potential threat. Her body reacted, but pain shot through her chest, forcing her back down. Injuries still active, she muttered weakly. Good, a voice said nearby. That means my extremely questionable medical skills worked. She turned her head. Daniel stood across the room, holding a steaming container like it might explode. You're awake, he said. She studied him carefully. Same human. Same calm expression. You did not imprison me, she said. Daniel blinked.
What? No.
This is my workshop. I don't have a prison. She frowned slightly. You helped me. Daniel shrugged. You were bleeding on a rock. It seemed rude not to. Kilira looked around. Machines everywhere. Tools, cables, half-built devices. Controlled chaos. You are not a warrior, she said. No, Daniel replied. I'm worse. She tilted her head. I'm a mechanic. Before she could respond, a low hum echoed outside. Both of them froze. Kilira's expression changed instantly. Danger. They found me, she said quietly. Daniel walked to the window. A small drone hovered outside, scanning the structure with a pale blue light. Then it flew away. Daniel scratched his chin.
Yeah, he said.
That's not one of mine. Kilira tried to stand. Her legs failed. Daniel caught her before she hit the ground. Still injured, he said. Let's not do dramatic battlefield entrances yet.
They are coming, she said.
Daniel looked toward the horizon. The sky flickered. Distant shapes moved in the darkness. Ships. More than one. He exhaled slowly. Well, he said, grabbing a small remote device, this just got interesting. Outside, hidden beneath the rocky terrain, machines began to wake up. Old mining drones. Rebuilt. Repurposed.
Armed.
Metallic clicks echoed through the night as they rose from the ground like sleeping giants opening their eyes. Kilira stared at him. You prepared for war? Daniel gave a small, tired smile. I prepare for everything breaking, he said. Another distant explosion shook the horizon. The ships were getting closer. And for the first time, Kilira realized something strange. The human wasn't afraid. Not even a little. Daniel looked at the approaching fleet, then at his tools, then back at the sky, and sighed. I was really hoping for a quiet week. The first blast didn't miss this time. It hit the ridge directly. The explosion tore through stone and dust, sending a shockwave that slammed into Daniel's workshop like a hammer. Metal walls screamed. Tools crashed to the floor. Lights flickered violently before stabilizing. Daniel steadied himself against the table. Okay, he said under his breath. Now I'm officially annoyed. Kilira was already moving. Pain still burned through her body, but she forced it aside. Her instincts had taken over completely now. Every movement was sharper, faster, focused only on survival. They're not testing anymore, she said. Daniel grabbed a small controller from his bench. Yeah, he replied. I got that part. Outside, the ground began to shift. Hidden panels snapped open. One by one, Daniel's modified mining drones rose into the air, their heavy frames unfolding with mechanical precision. Their tools, once meant for cutting rock, glowed brighter now, repurposed into unstable but deadly weapons. The air filled with a low metallic hum. Kilira stared. You built an army. Daniel shook his head. Not an army, he said. A backup plan. Another voice echoed from the sky, cold, amplified, and emotionless. Surrender the fugitive. This is your only warning. Daniel stepped into the doorway, squinting up at the hovering ships. You skipped the part where I agree, he called back. No response. Just silence. Then, the enemy soldiers dropped.
Dozens of them.
They hit the ground in perfect formation, their armor heavy and dark, weapons already raised. They didn't hesitate, didn't pause. They advanced.
Fast.
Daniel tapped the controller. All right, he muttered. Let's see what version 2 can do. The drones reacted instantly. They surged forward, firing bursts of superheated plasma toward the advancing troops. Explosions lit up the battlefield, scattering the first wave of soldiers. But it wasn't clean. One drone fired too wide, blasting a crater far from the target. Another hesitated for half a second too long, and was destroyed midair. Daniel winced. Still buggy, he admitted. Kilira didn't wait. She moved past him and down the slope, gripping her restored blade tightly. The moment she entered the battlefield, everything changed. Her movements were fluid despite her injuries, precise, controlled, lethal. She deflected a plasma strike, closed the distance, and struck once. A soldier dropped. Another came from her side. She pivoted, blocked, and drove her blade through a weak point in the armor. Daniel watched, impressed. Yeah, he muttered. Definitely not a kitten anymore. He raised his rifle and fired. His shots weren't perfect, but they didn't need to be. Each one disrupted enemy movement just enough. Just enough for Kilira to act. Together, they held the line. For a moment. Then more soldiers arrived. Too many. They poured down from the ships in waves, their formation tightening, adapting to the drones' erratic attacks. The battlefield shifted. Slowly but clearly. They were being pushed back. Kilira's breathing grew heavier. Her movement slowed, just slightly. A mistake. A soldier lunged. Daniel fired instantly. The shot struck the ground beside the attacker, forcing them off balance. Kilira recovered and finished the fight in one clean motion. She glanced back. Daniel gave a quick nod, but his expression had changed. He was calculating now, watching everything. Every movement, every weakness, every failure. Yeah, he said quietly. This is where things break. Another drone exploded. Then another. The sky above darkened as the largest ship descended lower, its massive weapon beginning to glow. A deep hum filled the air. Kilira felt it immediately. That weapon, she said. It will erase everything. Daniel followed her gaze. The energy building inside the ship was immense. Far beyond anything his drones could handle. Far beyond anything they could survive. He looked back at his workshop. At the scattered tools. At the machines he had spent years fixing. And for a brief moment, he hesitated. Then he exhaled. No, he said. Kilira turned to him. You cannot stop it. Daniel didn't argue. He simply turned and walked back inside. She frowned. What are you doing? He ignored the question. Instead, he moved straight to the far corner of the workshop, where an older device rested beneath a heavy tarp. Something he hadn't touched in a long time. He pulled the cover away. Metal. Reinforced. Modified beyond recognition. Not a standard tool. Not even close. He checked the power core, adjusted a cracked interface, and lifted it with effort. Kilira watched closely. That is not a repair tool, she said. Daniel gave a small smile. It used to be. Outside, the hum grew louder. The enemy ship was seconds away from firing. Daniel stepped back out, carrying the weapon. He positioned himself at the edge of the ridge.
Calm. Steady.
Kilira moved beside him. You will die, she said quietly. Daniel nodded. Yeah, he replied. That's usually how bad ideas end. The ship fired. A massive beam of energy tore downward, bright enough to turn night into day. Kilira braced herself. But Daniel didn't move. He raised the weapon. Waited. 1 second.
2.
Then, he fired. The beam that erupted from his device wasn't clean or stable. It flickered. Shifted. Raw energy forced through something never designed to handle it. The two blasts collided midair. For a moment, everything froze. Light twisted. Energy bent in impossible directions. Then the impact detonated. A shockwave ripped across the battlefield, throwing soldiers off their feet and forcing the ships to rise higher. Dust swallowed the ridge. Silence followed. Kilira struggled to her feet, her vision blurred. When the air cleared, she looked up. The ship still hovered above them, damaged, but intact. And now, focused entirely on them, Daniel lowered the weapon slowly. Smoke curled from its surface. Okay, he said, breathing out. Definitely made it worse. The ship began charging again. Faster this time. Stronger. More precise. Kilira tightened her grip on her blade. We cannot survive another strike. Daniel didn't answer. He was looking past the ship.
Higher.
Far beyond the battlefield. As if calculating something no one else could see. Kilira followed his gaze. At first, nothing. Just empty sky. Then, her eyes widened. You're not, she whispered. Daniel adjusted the weapon. Yeah, he said quietly. I am. The ground trembled as more enemy forces closed in. The ship above reached full charge again. Everything was seconds from ending. And still, the humans stood there, not panicking, not running, thinking. Kilira felt it again. That impossible realization. Humans didn't win because they were stronger. They won because they refused to accept losing. Daniel took a breath. Aimed higher. Much higher. Let's try something stupid, he said. And pulled the trigger. The beam didn't hit the ship. It went past it. Straight into the upper sky. Far beyond the battlefield. Far beyond anything that made immediate sense. For a brief second, nothing happened. Kilira stared at Daniel. You missed, she said. Daniel didn't lower the weapon. No, he replied quietly. I didn't. Above them, the night sky shimmered. At first, it looked like heat distortion, like the air itself was bending. Then the stars shifted. Not moved.
Distorted.
As if something massive had just been revealed. Kilira's breath caught. No, she whispered. The enemy ships reacted instantly. Their formation broke. Scanning beams shot upward, searching, analyzing. And then, a deep, resonant hum rolled across the sky. Not from the battlefield. From orbit. Something was there. Something enormous. Something hidden. Daniel finally lowered the weapon, the metal in his hands glowing faintly from the strain. I was wondering when that would wake up, he said. Kilira turned to him, stunned. You knew. Daniel gave a small shrug. I didn't know, he said. I guessed. The distortion above them grew stronger. Then,
it broke.
A massive structure revealed itself in orbit, its surface unfolding like a waking giant. Silver lines of energy ran across its surface, lighting up piece by piece. It wasn't a ship. It was something older. Far older. The enemy fleet froze. Even their weapons powered down for a moment. Kilira felt it in her chest. Recognition.
Fear.
Respect. A relic, she said softly. Daniel squinted up at it. Yeah, he replied. I found signals from it months ago. Thought it was broken. He glanced at the smoking weapon in his hands. Turns out it just needed a jumpstart. The massive structure pulsed once. Then again. And then,
it moved.
Not physically, but energetically. A wave of power surged outward, sweeping across space and crashing down toward the battlefield. The effect was immediate. The enemy ships flickered. Their weapons died. Their engines faltered. One of them dropped slightly before stabilizing. Kilira's eyes widened. It's disabling them. Daniel nodded. Looks like it doesn't like uninvited guests. The enemy forces panicked. For the first time since they arrived. They hesitated. Then the largest ship fired anyway. A desperate move. A final attempt. The beam shot downward, unstable but still deadly. Kilira braced herself. Daniel stepped forward. But the beam never reached them. The relic reacted instantly. A thin line of light dropped from orbit, precise and silent. It intercepted the attack midair. And erased it. Not blocked. Not deflected.
Gone.
As if it had never existed. Silence fell across the battlefield. Even the wind seemed to stop. Kilira stared upward, her voice barely a whisper. This is impossible. Daniel crossed his arms, studying the sky. Yeah, he said. I get that a lot. The relic pulsed again. This time, the effect was stronger. Every enemy ship shuddered. Their systems failed completely. One by one, they powered down. Weapons offline. Engines dead. Control lost. The battlefield shifted instantly. From chaos to helplessness. Kilira looked around. The soldiers below had stopped fighting. Their weapons dimmed. Their movements slowed. They were cut off. Disconnected. Defeated. Without a single final strike. Daniel exhaled slowly. Well, he said, that worked better than expected. Keelira turned to him. You activated an ancient orbital weapon, she said. Daniel shook his head. I didn't activate it, he replied. I woke it up. Above them, the relic shifted again. Its surface glowed brighter now, as if fully aware. Then, a single beam of light descended. Not destructive. Focused. Controlled. It landed directly in front of Daniel. Keelira stepped back instinctively. What is it doing? She asked. Daniel didn't move. The light scanned him, from head to toe.
Slowly. Carefully.
Then it stopped. A soft tone echoed through the air. And for a brief moment, everything felt still. Peaceful. Keelira watched, barely breathing. What does it want? She whispered. Daniel looked at the light, then at the battlefield, then back at the sky. I think, he said slowly, it's deciding. The beam flickered once, then disappeared. Above them, the relic shifted again. And then, it turned, not toward the enemy, but toward the stars beyond, as if it had made its choice. The remaining enemy ships regained minimal power, just enough to retreat. And they did. Without hesitation, without pride, they fled. Silence returned to the ridge. The battle was over. Keelira lowered her blade slowly. Her hands trembled, not from weakness, but from realization. You changed everything, she said. Daniel looked around at the destruction, at the broken drones, at the damaged ground, at his workshop still standing. Yeah, he said. That happens sometimes. She stepped closer. Her expression softer now. Different. You are not a warrior, she said. Daniel smiled slightly. Told you. She shook her head. No, she said. You are something else. He raised an eyebrow. That bad. Keelira almost smiled. That dangerous. They stood in silence for a moment. Above them, the relic remained, quiet now, watching. Not as a weapon, but as something awakened. Something that had responded, not to power, but to a signal. To a human. Keelira looked at Daniel one last time. In my world, she said, strength decides everything. Daniel picked up a broken tool from the ground and turned it in his hand. In mine, he replied, we fix things. She studied him carefully, then nodded, as if understanding something far deeper than words. Far beyond war. Far beyond strength. The universe had tested a human, and the human had done what humans always did. Adapted. Improvised.
Survived.
And somehow changed the outcome entirely.